Okay, good morning everyone. Shalom Aleichem, Bruchim Elam. We're continuing in Mishna Berura Daf HaShavua. We're learning Siman Nun Hey. We're in the middle of Sif Yud Gimel. The Mechaber says that all 10 people have to be in one place with the Shliach Tzibur with them. So far what we saw in the Mishna Berura is that even the 10 people, even if they can't see each other, if they're in one house, which we learned means one room, it's okay. But if some are in one room and some are in another room, they do not join, even with the door open, because it's not breached. And the opening of the door is considered like two separate rooms, even without any door. A doorway is considered a hefsek. If they're in two separate rooms, if they don't see each other, they are not mitzaref. And some are machmer even if they see each other. In other words, it's not an ideal situation. Sorry, one second. It's not an ideal situation separate rooms even when they see each other. The fact that they're in two separate rooms itself is enough of a reason to split them apart. Okay. Let's start from Mishna Berura Sivkata Memtes. Echad. They all 10 need to be in b'makam echad. Hayu tisha b'bayis ve'echad b'sukkah. 9 are in the house and 1 in the sukkah. Yesh omrim de mitzaref. Some say they join. V'yesh chalkim. Some dispute that. If you have 9 in one place, ve'echad achar havilain, and 1 behind the curtain, shaparsin l'tznios, that you spread out just for modesty, mitzarfin, it joins out. V'davkim parsu l'tznios ba'alma, that's only if it was spread for modesty. Aval yi'ika tefillin, but if there's tefillin, I say for Torah. Ufarsu sadin kihechi they'll have a mechitza l'sham shmitasai, and you spread out a mechitza not just for modesty, but halachically, so that one can be mesham shmitasa b'makam servitor tefillin. Have a nami ki mechitza l'tzerf asara. It's a mechitza for a minyin v'loy mitztarfu. U'primagadim etzadei d'b'chol gavni mitztarfi. Now, if you're in one room and there's a movable mechitza like they do for a simcha, Reb Chaim Kanievsky says they are not mitzaref. Okay, so this is very common. You could have you're in a shul where they don't wear tefillin by Chol Hamoed, and you have 9 people, and you have one guy in the back behind the mechitza. He's wearing tefillin. He's not part of the minyan. So you need to meaning he's not mitzaref to the minyan. So you need to make sure you have 10 in the shul proper, because the guys behind the mechitza are not mitzaref to the minyan. They're davening with the minyan, but they're not part of the minyan. So all you people, not on this year, but people, you need to tell maybe some people not that you would even be friends with these kind of people, but maybe you have friends that are friends with people that daven in the ladies section, so tell them the ladies section is for ladies. Yeah? Everybody has to know mahem, what their gender is. Men belong in the men's section. Women belong in the ladies section. So, in other words, it's still davening with the minyan. I'm not clear if it's l'chadchila or not. In other words, they're definitely not mitzaref. Whether it's full-fledged davening with the minyan, that's another story. Now, some say, well, it's Kabbalah Shabbos. You're right, Kabbalah Shabbos, you don't need a minyan. And the truth is, it depends why you go to shul. If you only go to shul to be able to tell your wife that you went to shul, then taka, you might as well go to the coffee room then, because that you could also tell your wife you went to shul. Technically, you went to the shul, but you got to be in the room. That's the thing. Even a movable mechitza is mafsik for a minyan, according to Reb Chaim. Okay, but let's see the Mechaber continues. V'ha'oimed b'toich ha'pesach min ha'agaf v'lachutz. Someone who's within the doorway from the threshold and outside, Dahainu, kishasoiger hadalas, that is when you close the door. Mimakoim safa pnimis, shel oive hadalas, v'lachutz kilachutz. Someone who stands in the doorway from the doorpost, and in other words, you have like a lip. The lip is what the door catches on. So when you close the door from the place of the lid, the inner lid, of the thickness of the door and to the outside, is like the outside. So from the thickness, the inner thickness of the width of the door and the outside is like the outside. It says in Mishna Berura, Safa Pnimis, Ratzoloimar. D'makom skiras hadelas, in the place of the closing of the door, Hava Kilachotz, it's like the outside. Av she'achshav haya hapesach pasuach, even though now the door is open. So even though right now the door is open, but from the place of the inner thickness of the door and to the out is like the out. The Magen Avram says some dispute this, and he agrees with them that it's like the inside. V'ayin v'sefer Even Ha'ezer. Look in the Seif Even Ha'ezer, Shapasa Gamkin B'Pshitas, who also paskins the Heicha Dahamir Oimdim Toich Hamakim Hazeh Mitztarfim La'asara. That if the mir is in the doorway, they are mitztaref. D'loigara mechatzer ketana shenifritz l'gdala. It's not any worse than a small courtyard that's breached into the big one. Hamavar b'sev tazayin v'cheimash v'bir hagra. So until now we were learning that two different rooms are not mitztaref. The reason is because a doorway is mafsik. Masha'in kain, what if it's a mamish a pirza? You want to know, doesn't, by the tefillah? No, I didn't say you don't get tefillah b'tzibur. I just said you're not part of the tzibur. Meaning you can't be mitztarev to be number 10. But if they have 10, so you're possibly davening with a minyan. In other words, you're davening, you're allowed to answer dvarim shebekdusha. You're allowed to answer dvarim shebekdusha, but you're not mitztaref to the minyan. Okay, so again, when there are two different rooms and there's just a doorway of an opening, it severs the connection. But if it's breached, in other words, it's a very wide opening, then it could be considered one area. Again, that's the shita of the Mechaber. The Mechaber says the people in the doorway are not mitztaref. The Magen Avram disputes that. Says the Mishna Berura Sivkata Nun Aleph Shal Oivei Hadalas Ayin Biyad Ephraim Shekasav De B'Chalal HaPesach Levad Mimakim Hadalas. The Yad Ephraim writes that the hollow of the door, besides the place of the door, Kagain Heicha Shehadalas Kavua Lachotz. For example, where the door is set on the outside, and from the place of the door and within, there is a empty space within the thickness of the door. So basically, let's say you have a very thick doorway. Let's say the doorway is 2 feet, and the doors are toward the outside, and they open to the outside. So then, technically, those who are in the space of the doorway would be considered within, according to everyone. You could rely on this. The after Pri Megadim mashma the daitoi, even though the Pri Megadim is mashma, then in his opinion, the Rabbeinu Yerucham holds gam bazeh ta'avik halachotz. Even in this case, it's like the outside. Al kapanim, nevertheless, halay belav hachi. Even without this, harbe choikim are Rabbeinu Yerucham. Many argue on Rabbeinu Yerucham mechanal b'sivkata nun v'ayin beber halacha. In other words, even though the Pri Megadim implies that your Rabbeinu Yerucham argues on what the Yad Ephraim says, and he says the space of the doorway is like the outside, but it's not pasha that we hold like Rabbeinu Yerucham. Okay, let's see Sifkata Sif Yodalad. Misha Oimed Achoyer Beis HaKnesses. Someone who's behind the shul, Beineim Chaloin, and there's a window between them. Afilu Gavaya Kama Kaimais, even if it's many stories tall. Afilu Enoi Rachav Arba, even if it's not 4 Tfachim, even if it's not 4 Amais wide. Umar Elohem Panav Misham, and he shows his face from there, Mitzaref. So now we find the halacha that it's hard to see how it's consistent with what we learned in Yud Gimel. Because the guy's outside of the shul, and there's a window, and it's a tall window, and it's not a wide window. He could join up. Gagin va'aliyos inan b'chal bayis. Roof, upper stories is not part of the house. V'ha'oimed aleim inan mitzaref. Someone who stands on it is not mitzaref. So why in Sif Yud Gimel, where the Mishna Berura said that if you're in 2 different rooms, the Mishna Berura brought a machmirin afilu b'royim zeh, that even if you're in 2 different rooms, even if you see each other, there are those who are machmir. But here we're learning that if there's a window, and they see each other, that allows you to be mitzaref even from the end of the room. By the way, the Bir Halacha, Divrei Hamaschal Ulachutz, he says the Charchila you should be machmer, that if it's a different rishus, even if you see each other, it doesn't work. So I guess we'll have to see here in Sif Yodalad. Says the Mishna Berura, mitzaref imahim. The after the yesh hefsek mechitza b'neim, even though there's a hefsek of mechitza, kivan demara lahem panav. He's waving. He's saying, "Hi, hi! You see me?" He's jumping up and down. He's pressing his nose against the window. Right? He's flattening his cheek against the window. You see him. It's like what we say later, Minyin Ziman. Some see each other. They're mitzaref. The Aruch HaShulchan explains, because since whenever you have 10 Jews, the Shechina is there, and the Ikar Hashras HaShechina is on the face, like we find by Moshe Rabbeinu, therefore seeing the face is like seeing the whole body. Interesting svara. That the purpose of a minyan is to bring Shechina, and the Ikar HaShechina is on the face. When I was a bacher, I once asked Rabbi Victor Miller, how do we know that Selam Elohim is on the face? And he said, I already explained that many times. But I think he explained it to me a little bit. Okay, anyway, it's interesting. The Iker Shechina is on the face. Now, v'im kain lefizah pashat. According to this, it would come out pashat. Ha'imdim be'ezras nashim, those who are in the ladies section, uv'mechitza mavsekas yesh chaloin, and the mechitza has a window. Umar lohem panav misham, and you could see the face. Mitzaref yimam lasa, they could join for a minyan. Now, first of all, what Ezras Nashim has a window where you can see the face. So obviously the Mishna Berura did not have Hasidic style mechitzos. Meaning, and it wasn't a one-way window, because then you can't see their face. It was, let's say, 5 feet tall, with the face on top of it. Meaning, that means the Mishna Berura is being machshir, a mechitza, where you could see someone's face, which is interesting. Then they join. But by the way, most Ezras Nashim today, they don't rely on that. Maybe, in most shuls, the Ezras Nashim, they're machmer on a full-fledged mechitza. V'koshikein, certainly, the yesh beladai asara nechshav tefillah b'tzibra al yidei zeh. And certainly, if there's 10 without you, it's considered davening with the minyan, if they could see your face. Nevertheless, if it's better if you could easily go down, that you should go down. Now here the Mishna Berura is not saying it with such a fierce language. He's saying if it's easy to go down, you should go down. By the way, Rav Shlomo Zalman writes that even if the Ezras Nashim is on the level playing field, you should daven in the men's section. Because even though it's considered Tefillah B'tzibur, it does not have the full mala of Tefillah B'tzibur. So you wanted to know, if somebody is putting on Tefillah and Chalamayid and they're behind a makeshift mechitza, are they davening with the minyan? Yes. Do they have the full mala of davening with the minyan? I don't think so. But that doesn't mean they're allowed to go in, because if they go in, they're over loisaskoy to do. So the best thing is, I guess, if they could find a minyan of people who do what they do. But why is it better to go in? Some argue on this whole halacha, and they say you cannot compare this to Ziman. And seeing will not help. Okay, let's see this more tomorrow. But it seems like seeing each other, being able to see, Me'ikr Hadin works. And it's better to be machmer, not to rely on that. So again, if you're in a woman's section that they can't see you, then it does not work. You can't daven there. If they can see you, it's better not to daven there. Okay, Rabbi Seif, we'll hold it over here. What about Zoom, where I could see you, but that's not